Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone. I am in the kitchen, just in case you can't see. Welcome to our show. Hey, Pearl, how's it going?
Oh my goodness, I can't wait. This is such an interesting and very different show that we put together. We will be cooking live.
Live and in person. And it's all about the holidays. You know, it's that time of year. Next week is Thanksgiving, and then we have Christmas and New Year's and, you know, all the fun stuff that comes along with entertaining and meeting with family and cooking. And so today's show is about how to make the holiday dinners fun. We have an amazing guest that I have known for a little bit and have actually cooked with her before. So that's exciting. That's Hannah. So I'm happy to be here. And for those who are joining us for the very first time, we want to tell you a little bit about our show. So Pearl and I have had a TownSquare Talk for going on a year and a half. And it came about because we wanted to respond to needs and concerns of our clients, our family and friends when we learned about COVID. And we wanted to be able to make a difference, help people get used to the new norm, and bring in subject matter experts on different topics that were of concern, have been for our concern for the last 18 months. So I am Pat Albuquerque. I'm coming here from Fort Worth. I am an author, a speaker, and a business coach. And I work with seasoned women entrepreneurs who have hit that plateau, doing the same things, trying to get different results, and it's not working. So I use human design system to help women break that sense of being stuck and move their business in a way that's joyful and fun and with ease and grace. So Pearl and I have known each other for several years. In fact, we both come from IBM. And Pearl, tell us about you.
All right. Well, thank you for introducing yourself, Pat. My name is Pearl Pang. I'm co-host of TownSquare Talk. I'm a C-suite advisor, strategist, and a speaker. And if you want to find out more about my work, it can be found at my website, benchmarkmaven.com, and more to come. Back to you, Pat.
All righty. So I have the pleasure of introducing Hannah. So Hannah, all right, I'm stuck on the last name, Hannah.
Good effort, McKitrick.
There you go, Hannah McKitrick. So Hannah is a nutritionist. She's a yoga instructor and a foodie. She has a master's in Italian cuisine and attended a culinary school in southern Italy. I mean, how fun is that? Hannah received her certification in holistic nutrition as a holistic nutritionist in London and received her yoga teacher instruction or certification, if you will, in Malta. How many of us actually have an opportunity to experience those different countries in our training? She's very intuitive and embraces bringing in playfulness in everything that she does. Hannah healed herself from a digestive illness and uses this experience to help others. She loves creating easy gourmet and meals centered around gut healing foods that are good for you and happen to taste amazingly. Hannah's on a mission to help others align with themselves in a physical and spiritual level by having fun in the kitchen. Hannah brings high vibe energy to holistic cooking as a means to get creative, have fun in the kitchen, and reconnect with the joy of healing. She replaces the dread of, oh, what's for dinner, with an inspiration and desire to actually be in the kitchen and cook flavorful and healthy meals. Help me welcome Hannah. Hannah, so glad that you're with us.
Thank you, Pat. You make me sound so fancy. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And you have an incredible background. So before we start the cooking, we always start our shows with a moment of gratitude. And so we invite everyone to think about what they're grateful for today. And Hannah, I'm going to turn it over to you. And what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for this opportunity to be in a room with some new friends, some old friends, and just I personally have really found healing and connection in the Zoom culture this year with groups like this. So I'm just excited to play tonight, and I feel really grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Pearl, how about you?
Well, I am super grateful for really people who have put in the efforts and provide foods and supplies for us these days. The other day I was cleaning a fish. I'm like, oh my gosh, if it wasn't for the fishermen and all this whole supply chain, where do I go catch this trout? So that came to me. I'm like, I gotta really give thanks and be grateful for those people, even though it's their job, but grateful for their efforts.
Right. It is amazing. It is, and worth thinking about, right? Because sometimes we take that for granted. And just when you're talking about that, I'm grateful that my husband, Mitch, went to buy all the ingredients that I needed today for today's cooking experience. And he went shop. I go, babe, you know what? I don't have enough time. I've got a lot of things going. Would you go to the grocery store? And he said, yes. So I am grateful for having such an amazing husband. So ladies and gents, are you ready to start cooking? Yes. So we are cooking some yummy dishes today. Hannah, where are we starting?
Yes. So thank you again for your introduction. So we are starting tonight. We're making a bunch of vegetables, and we're going to make them taste really, really good is what we're doing tonight. So the first thing, we're going to be roasting two different vegetables, not four, two. The first one is Brussels sprouts, our Brussels sprouts. And we're going to start with these first so that we can get them into our oven and get them cooking so that we can get on with everything, because these take the longest to cook. So for those of you who are cooking, it might just be me and you, Pat, which is fine. Everyone else can cook later. But basically, I can show you guys how to chop these. We're going to prep them and get them into our oven. If you haven't already, you can preheat your oven to 425, or just heat your oven because it's not pre anymore. You're heating your oven. So I have this bag. What is it? It's a 12-ounce bag. I just get it from Whole Foods, and they're Brussels sprouts, whole Brussels sprouts. It says that they've been trimmed, but basically what I like to do with Brussels sprouts is just cut off these ends that they get a little not as vibrant as the rest of the Brussels sprouts. So basically what you want to do is just take your sprout and cut off the end like that. And with it will come the peels that kind of need to come, and you can just discard those. And then from there with your Brussels sprout, I like to cut it either in half or in quarters. This one is fairly small, so I'm actually just going to cut it in half like that. And then what you want to do with this is put it on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper. Parchment paper is your very, very, very best friend when it comes to roasting vegetables, because one, it helps your vegetables not to stick, and two, it makes for a really, really easy cleanup, because at the end you just throw out the parchment paper and take a paper towel, brush the pan, and I call it a day. You could scrub it, but we're trying to make it for easy holidays, not like doing all the dishes holidays. So I'm gonna keep chopping my Brussels sprouts here as we chat. And Pat, were you able to get these? Was your hubby able to get these?
He was able to get the Brussels sprouts. He wasn't able to get the delicata squash.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I got that. So while you're doing that, how did your love for cooking begin?
My love for cooking. Well, this is a funny question, because I actually have to stop and think about it sometimes, because I'm like, wait, why do I love cooking so much? And what comes to mind is my first memory of really cooking on my own was I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I was the fourth child in my family. So I kind of had to learn early on to feed myself because, sometimes I would get overlooked, but I have no issues to work through. But anyways, one of the dishes that I learned to make really early on was pancakes. And I memorized the recipe, and I just loved to make it on my own. And one of the reasons I loved to make it on my own is because I liked my pancakes almost raw, which sounds weird, but I liked it really doughy. And I learned that if I cooked it for only like not that long, like a couple minutes, that it would be kind of gooey in the middle. And I really liked that. And so maybe it's the control freak in me that likes to cook, or maybe I just, whatever, like to work with my hands. But both of those combined, I think speaks volumes to how cooking is really a means to give your body exactly what it wants. And I learned that pretty intuitively from an early age in the form of raw pancakes. And now I use it to make really healthy food taste good, because that's now what my body needs. So I think that is kind of where my love for cooking began.
That is such a cute story. And it's about time to put this thing in the oven, right?
All right, I'll speed up my chopping, Pearl. Here I go. I was going slow for my people in the back, but I can speed it up. So I'll just say this as we're saying, what we're gonna season these with is literally anything you want. What I'm gonna season them with, because I told you guys to do this, is olive oil, salt, pepper always, and then a little garlic powder and a little dried rosemary. Because I always have those on hand. That's what we're seasoning our squash with. It's easy. That's what we're gonna do. Okay.
All right.
The last one, Pearl, I promise.
No worries. Hey, Pat's doing that. I'm just here to kind of hold the fort.
Okay. So as you guys can see, this is what it looks like. I cut some of them in quarters. Just, you want them roughly the same size. And then I'm just drizzling it with some olive oil, about a tablespoon, but I eyeball everything. So like, don't hold me to it, Pearl, of my exact measurements. Sprinkling it with some salt and pepper. A little tip here, do it from up high. Get a nice even distribution.
You're so cute. You're making me a bad guy. I'm not holding you to anything. Everybody really has very different tastes and taste buds, and just, experiment is always good, right?
Really.
Plus, you have already provided the recipe.
I find when I don't have to measure things, I'm happier. So,
Same here.
what do? I shake, just a little shake, and then put it in the oven.
Awesome. Good job. All right.
And this is the point where some people go, Hannah, should I set a timer? And I say, well, if it makes you feel good, you can, but I'm not going to. So if anyone needs to set a timer, I would say set it for 15 minutes, and then we'll give it a little check. But I have an eye on my clock, and my nose has a, this thing called a sense of smell. So I can smell it. So
absolutely. Yeah, totally get it. So the next thing is really about our squash, right? And before we even start talking about it, there's so many different squashes, and I couldn't find the delicata in our supermarket. So I got the acorn. I swear to God, I'm going to be cooking, your recipes tomorrow, some other day. So I got these different squashes, and especially the butternut squash, it's so freaking hard to cut. I bet you have some tips that you can share with our audience, right? How to really cut these squash nice as you start to, lead the audience to cook. So audience, if you're watching and you're
I have a butternut squash. I feel like I might as well use both to demo. So butternut squash, it's a great squash. It'll last in your pantry for months. I'm not kidding. It'll last for months. So it's great to keep on hand. You'll always have a veggie. Really hard to cut. Stick it in the microwave for 5 minutes. Stab a few holes before you microwave it so it doesn't explode. And then microwave it, and it'll be so much easier to chop. That's one tip. The second tip, buy the pre-cut squash. I'm not kidding. In the produce section, buy it. It's so much easier. Oh my gosh.
Convenience is king these days, huh?
I have to sneeze. But it's hard when I'm talking. Yeah.
I bought pre-squash.
Excuse me, every time I use pepper in these classes, I sneeze. Yeah, buy the pre-cut squash. People are like, am I allowed to? And I'm like, yes, if you're gonna eat more vegetables because you buy that, then yes, you're allowed to. So do that. The delicata squash, which is why I actually chose this for tonight, and I'll just start prepping it so I can talk as we do this, is because it's a lot easier to cut. So like you can see, I'm gonna cut off the ends of this, and I'm not like breaking a sweat yet. So it's more delicate, if you will. No pun intended. But so basically for this squash, what you do is you cut off either ends, and the best part about this squash is you don't have to peel it. I'm not trying to like spend hours peeling squash in my kitchen tonight. It's already 7:20 here, so that to me is like king, that I don't have to peel it. So this is my old knife, not my new knife. So here we go. So you cut it in half. It looks like this, typical squash. And what you want to do is just scoop out these seeds before you cut it. And that's like the most complicated part. And so it's interesting, Pearl. So the other two squashes that you showed, one was an acorn squash. And that is, it has really similar flavor to a butternut squash, and texture. It's honestly just like a different shape. I use that a lot to make a butternut squash soup that I really like. So I'll just cut that in half and then roast it, and then scoop out the flesh, because as you can see, that one, it has a lot of ridges, the acorn squash, so it's a bit harder to peel. Unless you have some like serious knife skills. Okay, so I just scooped out the seeds of this, and so now you have these like two little boats like this. And what you want to do, put it on the flat side like this, so it's an even surface, and just cut it into little half moons like this. They're so cute, and they look fancy. And then you just put them on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper, just like we did with the Brussels sprouts. How am I doing on time, Pearl?
You're doing great. You're doing
Really
great.
good.
You know, I love you incorporate healthy eating in your cooking. And while you do that, of course, we still want to keep your instructions going. How did you think about that? What happened?
How did I get into healthy eating? Yeah, so that's an interesting question, because to be honest, I didn't like vegetables until I was like 17. And so when I was 12, I actually got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which is inflammation of the gut. And at the time, I was 12. So I'm just putting the rest of these on the sheet tray. So I was kind of, the doctors weren't really guiding me in terms of diet at the time. So I was just kind of eating what I was eating and on the drugs and what have you. And then when I was, right after my freshman year of college, when I was 18, I had a really, really bad flare up. And I was in the hospital for a week, and they were threatening surgery, the doctors. And that's when my mom was like, I heard of this holistic practitioner. If you want it, like this, it might be a good time. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right. Like, I think it's a good time. And so I worked with this holistic practitioner for that summer. And it was really, his philosophy was diet and supplements to really not mask the symptoms of your gut, but really heal them. And so I followed his plan rigidly for that whole summer. And then I went back to college, and I haven't had a flare up since. And that was 10 years ago. So I kind of like, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but like I kind of took his teachings and intertwined my life into it and created like, oh crap. Oh, we're good. It didn't break. This did that same thing once, and it shattered everywhere, and the oil went everywhere, but it's intact. Just beep out my swears. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're doing good. All right. So what
But
are you doing now? Arranging?
yeah, so I put the squash on my sheet tray lined with parchment paper, key, especially with squash, so it doesn't stick to the pan. And then we're seasoning it the exact same way that we did the Brussels sprouts.
Ah, okay.
Olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, rosemary. It's like holiday seasoning blend a la Hannah. Here you go. But yeah, so I took his teachings and kind of, like I said, my lifestyle and created my own intuitive health from that. Okay.
Yes.
So salt, pepper, rosemary, garlic powder, covering from our little what do we call it? Slip up? I don't really know sports here, but a fumble, that's it. Okay, and then giving it a shake and throwing it into the oven.
All right.
All right. So now that that's cooking, so my question to you is, how did you go from where you were and learning about how to heal yourself and fixing those pancakes to being an entrepreneur?
Oh gosh, how much time do you have? No, I'm just kidding.
Until we have to turn the vegetables.
Yeah. So I would say that there are 3 like textbook main events that really influenced my desire for this. So the first and foremost and biggest one was my time in Southern Italy. So I was 23 when I went. I had been working in corporate for 2 years, and I was like, I'm going to culinary school. This is my dream in Europe. Like, I'm going to do this. And I went and I did it. And the way I would describe it is that every day I woke up and it was the best day of my life. And then I would do it again and again and again. And it was a couple months. And so that really, to me, set the bar for life in general. Like, it was the most entertaining cooking show. I had views of the sea. It was a community of people from all over the world they were just had such depth to them, and they've lived such lives. And so that, to me, I was like, this is amazing. And then I came back and started working again in a corporate job. And I was like, whew, my whole body was just like contracting, and I'm so creative and like expansive. And so that to me was just not great. So I got into yoga during my other corporate job, and I was doing yoga, and I was, still eating well. And I was like, everything wellness just kept like sparking. Like, every time I'd see a sign, it was like wellness, health. And I was like, I want to go into this, and I don't really know how. And so after 2 years of working in my that other corporate job, I quit, and within a week and a half moved to Europe again. And that's when I got my yoga teacher training in Malta, while simultaneously getting my holistic nutrition certification in London. And it was, the whole time it was just like filling my soul with this knowledge and these people, because it's a certain type of people that's studying that. And it was so fun. And anyways, fast forward, I come back, I work in wellness. Finally, I'm working in wellness, but I'm still working for someone else, and it's fine. I'm happy, it's good. And then the pandemic hits. And I'm like, this doesn't feel as good anymore. And all of a sudden I get this download. I think a lot of us are spiritual here, so you get what I mean when I say I got this download. And I just saw my business, and I was like, oh my God, it's these 3 combined into retreats. Like, oh my gosh, here it is. This is what I have to do. And I'm like, okay, so how do I do that? And that was June 2020. And so fast forward a year and a half later, I'm kind of doing that thing with the support of a lot of coaches and a lot of programs and communities. And I actually had my first retreat on the books in Italy, where I went to culinary school for next April. So that's kind of how I got here today. There's lots of ups and downs, lots of panic breakdowns, all those things. But for the most part, it's just my heart is just like this is what I have to do, and I'll do whatever it takes to do it. So
I love it when we feel so aligned as things start coming together for us and we know we're in the right place at the right time.
Don't you love that? Yeah. It's
Yeah, I
like
love it.
the affirmation from the universe. It's like, I think I have this idea, but I'm not sure. And then like they affirm it and it's like, okay,
Yep.
I can do the thing.
Awesome. Great.
I really, really admire how you put together, once again, the healthy eating in your cooking and also infused with your yoga practice, which is what I do myself as well. So I'm curious, though, if you could tell us more about your philosophy around nutrition and wellness eating.
I would love to, Pearl. And you know why I would love to is because it's so simple. I studied Eastern medicine. I studied Western medicine. I've lived it myself. And the two things that it's boiled down to for me are vegetables, right? And whole foods. So one word, ingredient foods. And the reason I say that is because there is so much nutrition information out there. And to me, my mind just kind of wants to explode. And so I'm like, I can't take all that in, but these two things are like a common denominator throughout all of the teachings that I've experienced. And they just make sense to me. And as a chef too, like I'm not necessarily wanting to like weigh proportions when I'm cooking. I'm like, I want to make something taste good and I want it to be good for my gut. So like if I can just think of two things, vegetables and whole foods, it helps me discern like, okay, maybe ground up walnuts may be a better choice for a topping on this fish than breadcrumbs, say, because walnuts is one ingredient and breadcrumbs has like, I don't know, 5. And so that is just like a really quick, like, like this is healthy type of thing. And then, so that's kind of the two guidelines that I have at the forefront of my mind. It's just kind of ingrained in me. And then the third one is flexibility. I have a bag of homemade chocolate chip cookies in my freezer right now that I made with my mom last night because we wanted cookies. So we did that. And that feels really like healthy to me, especially because we had like a really healthy, like lemon pesto zucchini noodle dinner with shrimp and a side of homemade cookies. So that's kind of like the third prong of my nutrition philosophy that I really like to emphasize, because it's not about being perfect. It's about living your life in the healthiest way that is possible for the body and for the soul. So that's my philosophy.
I really like what you're saying, especially these days, if we can use food as our therapy, right? So food as therapy versus taking in medicine, that's always the first thing I want to get to. And as I get older myself, I actually discover some food sensitivity, right, on some of the foods that I used to just love. And, you know, it's just interesting that you have this philosophy here. You just got to be really tuned in and be very intuitive in what your body is telling you and incorporate and pick and choose, being flexible, like you said, right?
Yeah.
And pick and choose what serves you. And sometimes you have to say goodbye to some of the foods that you really crave. But guess what? It's always good to come back to it once you get through that period.
Yeah, and like leaving the flexibility for the environment too. Like, because if I'm in a room and everyone's eating cake, like I want to eat cake. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
Also, Pearl, I told you this might happen. My nose is smelling the Brussels sprouts, and I feel like we have to turn them.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so this is what happens. My nose just smells. And I'm
Time
like,
to check your veggie audience if you're cooking along with us. And hopefully your nose is picking up some senses as well in your own cooking.
so they're very vibrant and green.
Oh yes, I can see that.
They look lovely.
I can almost smell it too.
But you can't because you're not cooking.
I know it.
No,
But roasted Brussels sprouts, it's always good.
Yes. And so, what was I gonna say? So I'm someone who likes my vegetables almost caramelized and crispy. So if you're not someone like that, you could take them out now and it would be totally fine. They've been in 17 minutes. these could be done, but I would call them a little more al dente, if you will. So I'm just giving mine a toss, and I'm gonna throw them back in for about 10 minutes. That's kind of what I'm gonna do.
Sounds good. Back in the oven for another 10 minutes or so.
Or so, yeah. And then my squash is still, I put my squash on the bottom rack, and that's because I really like when my squash, one of the ends gets really like caramelized, almost is what it does. The natural sugars in the squash caramelize, and so I actually intentionally put it on the bottom rack so that that side gets almost burnt, which I like. But you can always put it in the middle rack if you like it a little more just like steamed.
Another tip. Good.
That's interesting. I love that. So I believe we've got a salad dressing in the mix here for tonight. Shall we start that?
What would I do without you guys? Here I am forgetting we've been making salad. I'm like, no, we're just roasting vegetables. Let's make a salad dressing. Okay. So get a bowl. And this dressing, so simple. We call it our house dressing. We don't really, but I'm just calling it now. It's maple syrup, balsamic, olive oil, garlic. Where's my garlic? I took it out. Okay, here it is. So garlic, I get a bulb like this. Garlic is not something that you want to get to, like, you know how I was like, do the squash shortcut? Don't do the garlic shortcut. Just don't. It's just, this is good and the other stuff isn't, so get this stuff. And it's easy. You peel it. And I'm not judging if you have the jarred garlic, you don't have to like hide it or anything, but okay. So let's see. Where's my, okay. I forgot I have two cameras. So take the flat side of your knife with this whole clove of garlic and take the palm of your hand and just smash it like that. And what that does is it just loosens up the peel of the garlic. It comes right off like that. And then what you want to do with this is mince it. I use a knife just because I have my board out, but if you have like a garlic press or anything like that, that would be a nice shortcut that you could do so as to not hurt yourself with a knife. Okay, so just give it like a really rough chop. You kind of hold the top of your knife and move the back of your hand like that. That's how you get a nice even chop. And then just put it into your bowl like this. And what the garlic does in the dressing is it really just perfumes the entire salad with flavor. So we have the garlic, and then what you want to do is add equal parts of balsamic vinegar. This is the like the darker balsamic vinegar. It's just balsamic vinegar, and maple syrup. So in the recipe, I think I said about a 1/4 cup of each. So 1/4 cup of each. And this dressing is like perfect for any holiday salad that you have because it like screams holidays, like balsamic and maple. It's like, I can already smell it. It smells good.
So is it the oil also that's a 1/4 cup?
Yeah, the oil is a 1/4 to a 1/3 of a cup. So it's like about equal parts, but a little bit more is kind of like what that measurement is telling you. Yeah. And then what you want to do is a pinch of salt and pepper so that you can season the entire salad. And then I might have said Dijon dressing in the recipe. I just fact checked myself. I always do this.
If you want.
What?
You can add that if you want, right? If
I know.
You have it.
I get bored a lot, so I like to change things up. So I'm like, wait, did I say that? But yeah, if you have Dijon mustard, you can add like a little teaspoon of that. And the other thing that I was thinking of, this is like when I can't sleep in the middle of the night, I think of recipes. I was thinking Greek yogurt would be really good in this, like just like a tablespoon to make it like a creamy balsamic dressing. I've actually never done it, but I think it would be really good. This is what I was thinking in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's a good time to talk about alternatives, right? You could always experiment and put any other flavor that you'd like to try out. I would think of some maple syrup and then what was that? Cranberry sauce or maybe something else. What else can be replaced?
So I wouldn't do cranberry sauce, but I would do honey is what I would do instead of maple syrup. But nice effort for contribution. And also
Preference.
like super, super, super easy and vital thing that I encourage people to do is taste as they go. So I just stuck my pinky in. I don't even think you noticed it to taste test this because I'm kind of just throwing things in, and I tasted it and it tasted good, but it was a little dull. So I just added a pinch of salt. And now I'll taste it again. It tastes yummy. And a little bit bitter. So I'm actually just gonna add like a splash more of maple syrup. And that's kind of how you can develop your own intuitive palate, like as you're cooking. You can actually decipher how things taste and if you like it. And if you don't like it, what you can add to make it taste good for yourself. Because what tastes good to me, probably tastes good to you because I have a really good sense of taste. But if it doesn't, that's okay. And you can figure out what you like. Okay.
So what other tips, Hannah, do you have that'll make the holiday cooking stress-free and fun?
That's such a good question, Pat. So I would say first and foremost, it's your energy. So the energy that you're bringing to the holidays is going to affect everything you do. So I would recommend to consciously make a decision to bring that playful energy to the holidays, because if you don't, who will? You can't expect your Aunt Karen to bring it because she probably won't. So I would say first and foremost, set your own intention to bring that energy. And then on a practical level, there's a few things. One, I'm assuming you're either going somewhere or if you're having family to you, people want to contribute. They want to help you. So delegate. Tell someone to bring a salad. Tell someone to bring a green veggie. Tell someone to bring a starch. Whatever it might be, like ask for what you need. And I think people will receive that and deliver, and it'll take it off your plate. So that's one thing. And then another thing is you can make so many things ahead or even prep things ahead. So like this dressing that we just made, if you're the one that's making the Thanksgiving salad, you can make this dressing weeks in advance. You can make the squash like 5 days in advance if you wanted to do like a roasted squash salad for Thanksgiving, or even for the Brussel sprouts, if you wanted to make them that day, just chop them ahead of time, like up to 3 days in advance, and put them in a Ziploc bag in your fridge. So then the day of, you can just like put them on a pan, drizzle them with olive oil, and put them in the oven, and it looks fancy, but you just kind of did it a la minute.
Sounds
like
great. Sounds great. So how has this whole cooking experience, the entrepreneurial experience you just shared with our audience, transform and shape you today, Hannah?
Well, Pearl, one of my coaches says the fastest route to self-growth is to start a business. And it's true. Because when you start a business, all your shit comes up. Again, sorry for my language. But it certainly helps me to illuminate parts of myself and to kind of like work with those. But one in particular that comes to mind is that for me, when I'm in the kitchen, the really like instinctual, intuitive, natural energy is play. Like I just get playful in the kitchen. There's nothing that can stop me. However, for instance, if I go to market, that's not my instinct or my intuition. That's not to be playful in my marketing. I'm like, no, let's be serious and rigid and this sucks type of thing. So for me, my lesson has been to like, what other aspects of my life can I carry this playfulness into? Because obviously playfulness serves on every level for me and I think for everyone. And it's something that is always kind of, you're always able to bring to the forefront, but it's not necessarily your default to grasp for it. So for me, my default in the kitchen is to grasp for it. And so for me, it's like, what other aspects and areas of my life can I make that my default so that I can just have a more like fluid, playful life. And that's kind of what I teach my clients in my group programs, because it's more fun that way.
Yeah,
It's less serious. Yeah.
definitely. So what are we going to put the dressing on?
Okay, so we're gonna put it on our salad. So let's check our veggies again. Okay, so my Brussels sprouts are done. This is what they look like. And I can tell because they've shriveled a little bit, they've shrunk, they're brown in some places, which looks really nice. So I'm just gonna put those aside. And then my squash, let's see, take a look at it here. And also delicata squash versus butternut squash takes less time to cook. So I'm actually just gonna kind of take my spatula and give it a little flip. The squash is not done yet. We'll keep it in there as we're chatting, but I'm just kind of giving it a rough flip. And I say rough meaning like, you know, one of them fell off to the side. I'm just gonna put it back in. Not the exact, but just give it a little toss. And then put it back into the oven. Okay. It's getting there, but just needs a little more love.
So, love is the best ingredient, huh?
Heat love, yeah, here we go.
How's your coming along, Pat?
Looking good.
All right.
So in the meantime, though, we can actually put together our Brussels sprouts, because we're not just gonna have like boring Brussels sprouts that taste like Brussels sprouts. We're gonna have really fancy Brussels sprouts. So once your Brussels sprouts come out of the oven, take them and just look how fancy this is with your parchment paper. You just take it like this and then slide it into your bowl. Whatever serving bowl you're using. And then what you want to do is we're just going to doctor it up with simple household ingredients. Number one, Parmesan. Sprinkle it over the top. And number two is pesto. So you can use pesto that comes in a container. I have 3 in my fridge right now. I also have some lemon pesto that I made this week, just homemade, that I'm going to actually use in this just to use it up. So we have Parmesan, pesto, and then the last ingredient that I suggested in your recipe was pine nuts, just like for a little added crunch, a little texture. I'm just going to toss this with a spoon. And what's going to happen is the heat from the Brussels sprouts is going to melt the Parmesan and the pesto, and just like, I don't know which camera is better. Maybe this one. I'll probably get it all over my laptop. That's okay. But it's like, ooh, it just
Looking
like I could
good.
use this as a bowl for dinner. So this is just a really easy way to elevate Brussels sprouts on your Thanksgiving table. Like I would eat this. Obviously I'm making it, but like I would eat this first, like over mashed potatoes or whatever, just because it's so flavorful. And then you just want to taste test it for seasoning to make sure it's up to your salt and pepper standards. Okay, so that's like gorgeous. It's not gorgeous there, but it is gorgeous. Another like alternative that I saw recently, if you don't have pesto, just a squeeze of lemon juice and Parmesan would be really good on these. But always keep pesto in your house because it's good. So more tips.
That's yummy.
Yeah, isn't it? Okay, so Pearl, do you want me to show you how to assemble the salad?
Yes.
Please.
Sure. So in theory, you'd have a big salad bowl and be tossing it, but I'm just going to show you an individual portion tonight. So I have a plate, or you have a salad bowl, however many people you're serving tonight. To tell you guys the truth, my family actually made a frozen pizza before my class because they didn't want to wait until 8 o'clock at night to eat. So they're not eating this tonight, which is why I'm not going to dress it all tonight. But that just goes under my flexibility category of my nutrition philosophy. So they're just,
It's all good.
So set your arugula base. If this was in a salad bowl, it would be, big base of arugula. And then what you do is you spoon. I only took out 1 spoon, so I'm just using the same one. You spoon some of your dressing over the top of the arugula, like that. And then I like to top it with either like crumbled feta or goat cheese. Goat cheese is really the best with this.
Goat cheese is my favorite.
Yeah, and it just like goes well with the holidays and with squash. Okay. So now, is there another ingredient that we put in it? I think that was, and then the squash. So let's get out the squash. So this is what mine looks like. It's like getting crispy on some ends. If we weren't pressed for time, I'd probably keep it in like another 10 minutes, but that's okay. Pat, yours will probably need more time because butternut squash just in nature is a little bit denser than the delicata squash. So feel free to just keep yours in a little bit longer. Basically what I'm gonna do, just set this really beautiful squash over at the top. And it's like such a, kind of like a showstopper in a sense. Just in the shape alone, like it just looks fancy.
Wow. Looks really nice.
So easy.
Here's mine.
What other toppings?
Oh, good.
I use kale.
Oh yeah, kale would be really yummy in this. Yeah, and the thing is with this type of cooking, it's not following my recipe exactly. It's using what you have and making it fit for your family, for your night of the week, whichever night you're cooking on. And that's half the battle of making it fun and making it sustainable, making it fun. So
It is not only fun, but also delicious. Pat's already digging in.
oh yeah.
By now, people probably would want to know how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, so my website is myintuitivehealth.com. You can send me an email there. Yeah, there it is. That's my website. That's my email. That's my number. So basically the way that I work with people is my Cook Well program. So it's my 8-week signature program, and it's virtual healthy cooking classes every week like this. And it goes on for 8 weeks with the same group. So my favorite part of it, like obviously we cook healthy food and it tastes really good, but to me, the connection with these women that it's to date, it's been all women. So with these women is so invaluable to me and to them. It's just such a soul connection with everyone. So that to me is my favorite part of this program. And so that's 8 weeks. And then if you want to like up level it even more, you can do my 4-month program, which is the same thing, but it ends with a retreat, like I said, in Southern Italy, where I actually went to culinary school. So those are the 2 ways that you can kind of work with me right now. Yeah, that's it.
I'm in.
Yeah, Pat's gonna be joining. I think my Cook Well program, right? I don't know if you're coming. Maybe you're coming to Italy, but
Yes,
yeah.
cook well for sure.
Yeah, Cook Well for sure.
So question for you. What do we avocado?
You put it in the salad. Pat, this is why I have you to host the show so I don't forget things. You put that in the salad too. Yeah. Sometimes I put avocado, sometimes I do craisins, sometimes I do walnuts. And I was like, which one did I pick tonight? But all of those would be really good. Like honestly, dried fruit, any type of nuts, avocado, or like an apple would be really good too. Like a fresh type of fruit would be really nice. In the springtime, strawberries. Yeah, endless possibilities.
Right, and talk about holiday dinners. There are also going to be cocktails and appetizers and other dishes.
Yes. Yeah, and so Pearl, I love that you mentioned cocktails because I have some really good tips for making healthy cocktails. And I know like a lot of your viewers will want to know them. So I'll just like give you a brief outline of what I like to do. So one is I like to start with citrus. So like lemon juice or lime juice, because that adds tons of flavor without adding a lot of sugar. So I like to start with that. And then one mixer that I really like to use with cocktails is kombucha. So kombucha is fermented tea. It's natural and it has a lot less added sugar than say like a cranberry juice. So I like to use kombucha and citrus juice. And then always, I like to add seltzer. So just like bubbly water, just to kind of cut the strength of whatever cocktail you're drinking. And then you add your alcohol, your spirit of choice. And to me, I think that makes a really yummy cocktail. And yeah, those are like my 3 tips, like citrus, kombucha, seltzer into your spirits.
Awesome tips. What about appetizers? Any tips for people to consider?
I think that it's always nice to have like a crudité option with your appetizer. So crudité meaning like veggies. So for instance, like veggies is dippers. So if you want to make a baked brie, like make a baked brie, but like maybe add some like sliced apples or like some sliced celery with that, so that you can like add on your plate like some crackers, some apples, and some celery, just to have like a little more balance in your appetizer. I also have a really good avocado hummus recipe that I like to use.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. It's yummy. It's simple. And that to me feels like a really like healthy and nice appetizer. So yeah.
Wow.
Do you have any question, Pat? Any ideas?
I really enjoyed all the salads here. And so I'm guessing that you can even change out the lettuce.
Totally. Yeah.
Like the butter lettuce. I like the butter lettuce. And then just, just kind of play with that.
Yeah.
I added walnuts to mine. So that was
almonds
good.
would be really yummy, like to go with the Thanksgiving theme. Almonds I always have in my pantry. So like I'd probably add almonds. But yeah, any type of crunch like that would be really nice.
So I like crunchiness in food.
Yeah. And it's a really nice alternative to croutons. Like you really don't need it when you have the nuts in there. And to me, like based on my philosophy of nutrition, like that feels better. So yeah,
in holiday dinners, there's also settings, right? To really put together some settings.
Oh, table settings.
Yeah, I love to use candles. I mean, that's an easy thing. Changes the.
Are you asking me how to set a table? I'm not Ina Garten. No, but one thing that we had discussed earlier is to set your table before beforehand. You can do that days in advance. That's not my sister will probably do that. To be honest, that's one of the things I'll delegate during the holidays because that's not my specialty, but I love pretty tablescapes.
Yeah, I love to. And I like it when the dishes don't match. different
Rustic.
colors, different patterns on top of each other. You know, it doesn't have to be a set that's all just perfect, that you just kind of take and you just play with different colors to make a different play setting for everybody.
Totally.
Yeah.
Invite into your play.
And talk
Yeah,
about
it's been
playfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. And thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Much fun. And Evelyn, I hope you can make it another, or have your daughters make it. I feel like they would like really like rise to the occasion and like crush it. What's your husband's name, Evelyn?
Oh, the hubby. Okay.
She's gonna have me make it.
Right
do you feel like good about it? Do you want to like talk about it? Or...
Oh no, I totally want to try it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's easy, right? It's just like
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Neither of us have had the delicata squash before. I've had like almost all the other squash except that one.
Buy it. If you can find it, buy it. It's so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Honestly, I personally haven't had it myself.
I've never had it either. I look forward to it. I think I'm gonna have
I
to go.
really wish I could find it in the supermarket. Unfortunately, I don't have it. They do have the signs, so hopefully they'll restock soon enough. And that's another reason I decided not to cook, because again, I wanted to have your recipe and be able to do that. At any rate, any other questions from Evelyn, other audience so far?
No.
I'm so glad and happy to hear that Evelyn's husband is so very much gung-ho to jump into the dish. And
Yay!
please do share your results in the comments of this video after it's
For
posted.
sure.
So it'd be awesome.
For sure. So we always like to close the show with a quote, and I believe, Hannah, you have one for us tonight.
I do. Do you want me to say it?
Yes.
Okay. So this was across my cubicle in my first job after college. This was like a premonition, I guess. But it said, "Life isn't nearly as serious as the mind makes it out to be." By Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, I love
And
him.
I just love that, because at the time I was very like serious, whatever. And it's been my journey ever since to kind of shed the serious away. So yeah,
I know.
that's my cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. Girl.
That is very beautiful. So thank you for sharing that final quote with our audience. Our next month's show coming up is scheduled on December 15th. And it's going to be a fun holiday party. And everyone will be bringing in their favorite topic, especially food. And we're hoping that Hannah's going to come back and join us as well. So we will.
Well, if food's involved, you know I'm there. So.
All right, with that in mind, then, thank you very much for watching. And hopefully, if you're cooking